Welcome. I'm Gardner Sherrill, and I look forward to sharing my process for making a successful transition into retirement and for making smarter choices with your money. Let's start by going back to the fall of 2020. So I'm dropping off my oldest at college at the height of the pandemic. Despite having visited the campus twice before, I now have a flood of questions that I hadn't considered before. Where does he go if he's sick? The cell service is terrible here. What happens if he needs to call and can't get a signal? I'm overwhelmed by questions and I don't know where to begin. Worse yet, I can't help but think about the questions I don't even know to ask. Do these feelings seem familiar? I may not be retired, but I've been teaching people how to retire since 1995. In my experience, retirement can be as confusing, exciting, and anxiety-provoking as my recent college drop-off experience. If you stick with me for the next 10 minutes, I will help shed some light on the most critical issues. I'll provide a framework for working through them and offer you a safe place to gain some direction in your journey. There are plenty of people telling you what to do. Why should you listen to me? I've spent 27 years in helping teach people how to live off their own savings. I started in private banking, working with many of the wealthiest households in Atlanta before moving to Florida in 2000 and working specifically with retirees. I'm a certified financial planner, which means I've taken significant courses and I honed my skills in the areas of investments, income, insurance, estate planning, and taxes. I have my master's in business, which effectively teaches you how to create and execute on a business plan. Think of a financial plan as a business plan for life. I've won many awards over my career and find satisfaction in helping people pursue their goals. This career has been very good to me, and I truly enjoy the impact I have on people's lives. I made this presentation for retirees and future retirees with $2 million or more who want to know how to retire and stay retired. They want contingencies to address whatever life throws at them. They also want a transition plan in place to support the people that they love when their time comes. In this presentation, I'm going to share my retirement ROI method that will show you how I've been helping wealthy families from running out of money or making financial mistakes that can harm a legacy of hard work and success. I was talking to a couple on an introductory call the other day, and they were embarrassed that they didn't know much about their money and whether they had enough. They said, "Gardner, we simply hate talking about money. We need an objective third party to help us understand what we have and how to maintain our standard of living throughout retirement." I assured them that this is completely normal. They had spent their working years building their wealth by focusing in on their careers. We all have our own expertise, and it's okay to lean on others to help us become more aware and informed as we become exposed to new things in life. So how much is enough? Surely some amount of money should give us the confidence that we've attained financial independence and no longer need to worry about our future. Unfortunately, confidence does not come from a magic number as much as a better understanding of what you have. More money won't solve your anxiety, but a better plan can provide clarity and better sense of control. You've spent the better part of 30 years growing your income and putting it away into savings. We call this the accumulation phase of retirement planning. I'd guess 90% of the advice and what you read about retirement planning is focusing on this aspect. But like the Ed Viesturs quote, you're just halfway from getting down the mountain and it requires a different strategy. The next 30 years will require you to grow your savings and putting some of it away into income. In industry jargon, we call this the decumulation phase of retirement planning. There are distinct risks and issues in decumulation planning that don't exist in the accumulation phase. On paper, it sounds so easy, but I liken it to crossing a street in London. A simple thing like cars coming from the right rather than left is intellectually easy to understand. However, putting this into practice after a lifetime of doing the opposite can be extremely dangerous. As you shift to decumulation planning, the essential question is, will your income outlive you or will you outlive your income? How you generate income to fund your lifestyle and legacy is the core consideration. Let's discuss the issues, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Market volatility. I say market volatility is good. It's often thought of as a bug in the system, but it's really a feature. Volatility in the academic world is called risk. In a well-diversified portfolio, we're not talking about risk of capital, so I think a better term to use would be pain. The pain of having to endure sustained periods of declining asset values. But with no pain is no gain. It is a direct result of incurring this pain that we get the superior long-term returns on equities. The problem with volatility is when you start to tap your savings for income. The same benefit you got from dollar cost averaging contributions to the portfolio can cause irreparable harm from making distributions from the portfolio. To ensure we don't outlive our income, we must have a plan on how to manage volatility so that it doesn't spill over and deplete our resources as we take withdrawals from our portfolio to supplement our income needs. The pain can turn to capital risk if you don't have an adequate source of income when markets are in a downturn. Sequence risk is beyond today's discussion, but one of the most important risks to understand as you enter into retirement. Taxes are especially bad because they're a drag on your potential income and your asset growth. A good plan needs to address taxes not only year over year, but for the lifetime of your plan. There are a lot of things you can do in your 60s to avoid excessive taxation down the road as you begin to accrue various forms of ordinary income through Social Security and required minimum distributions. There are 5 tax retirement traps that we want to address, including Social Security torpedo, IRMA cliff, net investment income tax, the widow's penalty, and the survivor's dilemma. And lastly, the ugly. Inflation. It's the silent killer. It sneaks up on us over time. $1 today will buy you less tomorrow. To ensure we maintain our lifestyle and don't outlive our income, we must grow our income to at least maintain its purchasing power. The joint life expectancy of a non-smoking couple retiring at 62 is 30 years. Because those of you listening probably had better education, better health care, better jobs, and more income, I'd count on being above average in life expectancy. To offset trendline inflation, your income would need to rise by 2.5 times over the course of your retirement. This means that successful retirement planning requires you to grow your wealth in addition to keeping it safe. Over the years, I've found that people fall into one of the following situations. For some people, their income needs are low relative enough to their asset base that they have the risk capacity to continue managing their assets and income strategy in any manner they like. I can help them to identify inefficiencies, save time, and address any concerns, but ultimately, they have the latitude to do whatever they want. For others, their distribution plan may generate sufficient income today, but their assets are managed too conservatively or too aggressively to consistently meet their long-term needs. This often is a result of an over-reliance to risk tolerance questionnaires that are focused on current feelings rather than what is necessary to maintain a 30-year rising income stream. In the last group, their assets are managed appropriately to their long-term needs, but their income distribution strategy doesn't consider and adapt to market fluctuations, tax changes, or unanticipated expenses. Their plan may be totally adequate under normal conditions, but could collapse when put under pressure. As Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Here's what you need to have in place. An income plan. How do you preserve your cash flow once you retire? How do you ensure uninterrupted income during market downturns without damaging your asset base? You need an asset plan. How do you protect and preserve your wealth while at the same time growing it to support an increasing income need over time? And lastly, you need a tax plan. How do you minimize the tax drag on both your income and asset plans? What can you do to address what is likely to be the greatest expense you'll have in retirement? Even if you don't consider yourself wealthy, if you have $2 million or more, the government considers you wealthy, and that's not good. I have a recent new client that came to me through my retirement assessment. That's the initial discovery meeting we have with people that takes about 45 minutes to see if we can help them. They said, "Gardner, I don't have enough money to concern myself with estate planning." After some discussion, I discovered they were a Minnesota resident. So even though they didn't have enough money for federal estate taxes, they did have one for state purposes. Additionally, we were able to incorporate some strategies to lower their lifetime income taxes by diversifying the tax character of their assets. Over the past 25 years, I've been assembling best practices and creating a process I call retirement ROI, as in return on investment. The focus of a retirement ROI is to increase your return on life. The retirement ROI process has 3 phases: review, optimize, and improve. Review is a process for determining where you want to go, how to get there, and if you're on track. What are your priorities, and do your assets support those priorities? Let's run projections to see if you're on track. Optimize, where we develop a plan to restructure our assets to support the plan. This is where you pull together your 3 mini plans: the income plan, the asset plan, and the tax plan. Collectively, these mini plans will come together to support the priorities and projections made during the refocus meetings. Improve, where we execute the plan. We all know that nothing stays constant, so we need to adapt and evolve to what life throws at us. This incorporates the 3 areas of investment management, progress reports, and ongoing education. The biggest compliment I receive that I also find somewhat surprising is that clients tell me that they've never had things explained in such a simple and comprehensive manner. I had a client recently write a review that said, "I appreciate Gardner's patience, good humor, and common sense. He translates what could be complicated concepts into very accessible terms and encourages questions and dialogue." Let's look at how retirement ROI is intended to help with your return on life. Without preparation, complexity and uncertainty around retirement leads to increasing financial stress. As financial stress increases, your emotional confidence decreases. As emotional confidence decreases, we become prone to more irrational decision making. This often has a toll on your physical and financial health. The good news is that the reverse is also true. As financial stress decreases, a positive loop is formed. The best way to prepare for uncertainty is through structure and planning. Having a plan in place can reverse the cycle and allow for better health throughout retirement. What I've found is that there are questions that people constantly ask. They want to know, do I have enough? Where should I be saving my money? How do I keep from losing my money? What all should I be doing? The questions that come up at this time of our life are new and unfamiliar. And the reality is that there are no rules of thumb or simple answers. But this is what I do all day, every day. I sit down with families and help them plan for this next part of their life. I ask a series of questions to help them understand what is the best next step for them. In fact, I can help you determine what is your next best step with a phone call. All you need to do is simply click the button below this video to set up a time to chat. There is no obligation. We just want to help point you in the right direction, and when appropriate, see if there's a good reason to speak further. Click the button below, and I'll see you on the other side.